Well, hello, Nathan Judah. I'm delighted to be joined by Mr. Liam Keane from his kitchen in Warwick. That's where it's all happening on deadline day. Keano, I know you've been absolutely inundated with messages, with signings, with incomings, with outgoings today. I'm surprised you've got 10 minutes to chat to me, to be honest. It's absolutely manic. Your phone is non-stop ringing. What's going on in this crazy, crazy day that is deadline day at Wolves?
Well, I've got enough time to make a cup of tea, mate, if you want one, because it's very quiet.
I've got one. I've got one.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, we've been, on the podcast and, in the few days leading up to today, we've been sort of hinting at it to say, look, the João Gomez deal is probably going to be the last bit of major business that Wolves do. And we're sat here now at, what is it, almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it seems like that's pretty much what we expected. Yerson Mosquera is going to have a loan. It's going to go through today. We're expecting to FC Cincinnati in the MLS. Other than that, pretty quiet. Joe Hodge was potentially going to go out. Small bit of news on that is that Julian Lopetegui made the decision himself that he wants to keep him, which is a big call, because Wolves are going to have 7 central midfielders once Traoré comes back from injury. So you'd have thought maybe they'd have liked to see him going at game time, but the manager likes him. It's a big decision to keep him, and hopefully he gets some opportunities. Other than that, very, very quiet. Wolves did their business early, and I think it's probably a smart way to go.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's not like social media to overreact at times, Liam, but I would say looking and summarising everything, people are pretty relaxed. They're pretty relaxed as you can be in, 17th place in the moment in the table. But I think they're quite happy with the business. If there's one, black mark, is that they would have quite liked another striker. But at the same time, if the player isn't available, Liam, if there's not the player who's going to come in from the start and start scoring goals and you're paying inflated fees, then you stick to what you've got. And I think, you can speak for yourself, but Julian Lopetegui is quietly confident that the squad that he's assembled here can get the job done and score the goals that are going to keep Wolves in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think me and you have probably got our reservations on Matheus Cunha playing as an out-and-out number 9. We've spoken about that on the podcast recently. We're not 100% convinced, albeit we think he's done very well so far. But as far as Wolves are concerned, they have signed a striker and signed him for a hell of a lot of money. 43 million once it goes through, obviously initially joining on loan. And for them, they see him as the player to score Wolves the goals. They looked at strikers, Antonio, Gyökeres at Coventry. They've got interest and had conversations, of course, with bringing a striker in, but it pretty much would have relied on a player going out, and that would have been either Raul Jimenez or Diego Costa, and neither of them really were viable options to leave. Not only because I think they've got in some ways something to add to the team, but equally they would have to find a team for them to go to. And Wolves, as I say, were very eager to get their business done early. They did that with Cunha, bringing him in before the window had even opened, and they acted quickly with players like Lamina as well. So it wasn't one they wanted to drag on. They were happy with their options. They made the decision to stick, and as I say, the Gomez saga was the last one to get over the line, and they got that done.
Yeah, 6 signings in total. What do you make of them? So you mentioned Cunha. I guess Sarabia, probably someone who could, make one of the biggest impacts, I would say, between now and the end of the season. A good signing and basically just summarise the window as a whole.
Yeah, I think I'll use this phrase again that we've both used recently, is that Sarabia has gone a little bit under the radar because his emergence as a Wolves target came out around a similar time that the João Gomez saga was starting to kick into full gear, and fans, understandably, had their focus and sights on Gomez. But Sarabia, I think, for the money Wolves paid, 4.5 million. 30 years old in his prime, got 21 goals for Sporting, 22 if you include the one he got for PSG before he went on loan last season. I think it's a very, very good signing. A player who can play in a 10, he can play out wide. And for Wolves, this window was all about balance. Lopetegui said that several times, balance in the squad. So you look at Sarabia as a player who can play out wide on the right or centrally, gives them options in both positions. You look at Dawson, I think is a very good signing, as experience, as leadership, as another player in centre-back who can play on the right. I think Bentley makes sense, not because he's necessarily going to play a lot, albeit Sarr was struggling recently, you never know. But he's 29, was a club captain at Bristol City. Again, leadership experience, has played throughout the leagues. And I saw a graphic actually earlier today. Someone put together on Twitter of the Wolves squad and all of the players for each position, and they're now looking like a team that has got 2 very good options for each position, right the way or more, right the way through the team.
Mm.
And that is exactly what Lopetegui wanted. They got that done early, and again, I'll come back to that. That has been the real key thing for Wolves, I think, and I agree that it was a right move, because you don't want to be scrambling around. Look at the likes of Everton, scrambling for a manager and scrambling for signings on the final day, and it looks like they're struggling. So Wolves are in a position where they've strengthened in comparison to a lot of their other rivals, and that can only be a positive.
Yeah, Lamina's coming as well, Liam. Someone who's going to add a bit of Premier League experience. Probably not going to start too many games, but someone who's going to be very useful to come off the bench, you'd have thought.
Yeah, we both really liked him, watching him come off the bench. Was it the West Ham game? I think it was when he made his debut. 10, 15-minute cameo, but big tackles, physical, runs well with the ball. I think he's a solid, hopefully 6, 7 out of 10 kind of performance player, which I think Wolves need a bit of consistency. And again, just brings the key components the Wolves are after in this window, which is Premier League experience, a bit of leadership, experience in terms of his age as well, and just adding to what was previously a very young, inexperienced group. So each of these signings has brought that, alongside hopefully a little bit of flair when you look at players like Cunha and João Gomes.
If you're grading Wolves' transfer business from the start of January to now, what would you give it so far? I know it's difficult to say, and you probably know a little bit better in the next 2 to 3 months, but on the face value?
Yeah, I'll reserve my right to change my mind, as I always do. But I think, because I'm not 100% sure about Matheus Cunha as an out-and-out striker, albeit I hope and think he will bring goals to this team, I'll go B+. If he proves me wrong, I think it's an A. I really do, because Wolves have not only added depth, but they've added quality, and they've added the balance in each position across the field, and that is absolutely what they needed.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We're doing a Deadline Day podcast later on this evening. Make sure you tune in for that. But for now, thank you very much.